The plan of events today is to go through first the employee portion of the web services to kind of get an idea of what their responsibilities can be in the system. We'll look at the supervisor side of the page, and then we can look at some punching options such as using the time clock or using a mobile app. Okay, so the first page that we have up right now is just the employee web services, which allows the employees to get into the system to punch directly from this dashboard if we wanted them to, just using a punch button. They have full access to viewing information about their timesheets using the timesheet gadget here on the right-hand side. They also will be able to, if I scroll down the page here a little bit, see information about their time off information. So like in this case, Scarlett has 136 hours of vacation that she can use in the system. And then she can also see below that any pending, approved, or declined. So right now, Scarlett does have some pending time off for next week that we'll manage once we get into the supervisor side of it. The system also allows employees to be able to see other employees' approved requests for selected pay codes. And this is optional. But this way, Scarlett can take a peek at the month of March, get an idea of what her coworkers are doing in terms of approved time off already. So in this case, it looks like she has one coworker that has approved time off on the 25th. It looks like coworker Janet's taken 8 hours of vacation also on the Monday. Just to put a little bit of clarity between the employees to make sure, if you have limitations on how many people can have off on each day, the employees themselves can see that for selected pay codes. Below here, we have a scheduled area on the left. So if you do have schedules in the system for the employees, they can see that directly from their dashboard. And then on the right-hand side of that page is just a message center. So every time a time off request is approved or declined, Scarlett's going to get an email outside of the system, but then she can also see the same information directly from her dashboard should she have missed that email. Scrolling all the way back up, there are some other pages the employees can have access to as well, such as seeing their full history for their accruals. So although on the dashboard here I can see the current balance is 136 hours, employees will also have a little menu over here that can expand out and show some additional information. As the employee, I can come in here and say, all right, I have 136 hours, but why? I can then see using my vacation pay code here. I earned some hours on 1/1. I haven't been approved for any hours so far this year, so I still have 136 available to me. And then if we just look back to 2018 here, you can see all the times that the employee has used it to bring the balance to 28.5 at the end of the year. And in this case, those hours actually rolled over, some of them anyways, to the next year. Everything from the employee side can be customizable. So if there are pages or gadgets you don't want your employees to be able to touch or see, we can take those out of the system. If you'd like your employees to only be punching from a time clock or the mobile app, we can restrict them to not punching from the website. I'm going to flip over to my supervisor side. So Scarlett's also a supervisor, so she has this nice little quick link to just flipping to her supervisor side of the page. And then once this page loads up, we get a completely different dashboard from the supervisor side. But what the dashboard here can tell us is information about the timesheet. So on the left-hand side, we have these different exceptions that are showing us right now that we have, no missing punches in the system. Nobody has overtime so far. We have 2 employees with tardies, and I have some punches from the time clock coming through. A lot of the things on the dashboard here are clickable. So as I'm hovering over my tardy exception, if I wanted to see the employees that were actually tardy, I can just click on that and it'll launch me directly to the timesheet and then show me the employees that have that exception. So the big thing with that is, especially when it comes to like missing punches, you may have a list of 300 employees, but once you click on that missed punch exception, it can narrow your employees down to only those that have that certain exception. So right now, this is just a daily view for all of my employees. So it's showing Marcus on the first line and Ashley on the second. But then I also have this whole detailed timesheet view, one employee at a time, if I wanted to see full information about everybody. So the timesheet kind of has 2 different views depending on how you'd like to use it. This view for Marcus right now is just showing me his basic information for this pay period. And if I go to Ashley, she's got a little bit more information going on. And then it also has this secondary view that can show you absences, scheduled and unscheduled days. So if you wanted to have a little bit more view of what's coming up or what's happened in the past. So I can see here for Ashley, she's scheduled for the rest of this week and then all of next week. And she's expected to work from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. I'm just going to head back to my dashboard. And let's manage some PTO requests before we, go and start touching things on the timesheet. So like the employee, I can see some information about PTO. As a supervisor, I can see how many pending and approved I have for the current pay period, as well as a whole calendar view that will show me how many employees have information on each day, and then I can click on each date to see more detail. So for that Monday the 25th, I have Scarlett's requesting 8 hours, Terry's requesting 4, and then I can just click on one of their names to go to the page and actually manage that request. So let's just go in here and let's approve all of Scarlett. I'm just going to check mark them all, mark them as approved. And then as I save the page, it'll notify the employee that all of her requests have been approved. They'll automatically move to the timesheet, deduct from her balance, and then the next time Scarlett goes in to look at her timesheet or look at her accrual balance, it'll have all that information automatically updated. Head back to my dashboard. This is the usual starting point to make sure I manage everything for this pay period. The other gadget I have on here is a user reports gadget. So let's navigate to the report section. On the left-hand side of the page is all of these different sections that have some different reports in there. So if I expand my time and attendance, you can see all of the different time and attendance reports that you could possibly run. So these are just like the basic templates. As I come into them, just click on the detail one, for example, I come to a properties tab that then gives me all of these options to customizing the report, from which employees should be included in the report, what columns should be showing on this report. So here I can see for my detail report, it's showing me basically the same information we kind of saw on the timesheet, pay code, in time, if there's tardies or not. And then the system also gives you all of these options on the left under the available to add to the report if you wanted to. Customize your date range, pre-selected options, or you can even do a custom date range. A lot of times people may have to run summary reports or detailed reports for one employee for an entire year. Do that in the custom date range here. And then once you come to a report that you really love, that you've found is very useful and you don't want to keep recreating, there's an area on the bottom of the page called Publish To, and this will actually let you save this report. So we've gone through the whole thing of managing it. This is going to be Crystal's report. I'm going to publish it to myself, and then now every time I want to run this report, I can change the date range, I can select individual employees, I can even customize the columns a little bit specifically, but I'll always have this template on the top left-hand side of my page, so I can easily run this report at any point in time. Now, in addition to just the normal time and attendance reports, you can also run labor costing reports. Should you have employees that are transferring between different departments or jobs or allocating their time in any way, there are different summary reports or labor costing reports that'll break up those hours for you. So I just have a simple job summary report here. I've already customized it. It's already one of my reports. And then I'm just going to hit the preview here so we can launch it really quick and see what that looks like. When you run reports, you have the option to do PDF, Excel, CSV, as a Word doc. And then as you save those reports, it'll remember that setting for next time so that it'll automatically populate into that format. So if we look at Marina here for last week, she worked 14.42 regular hours in the front office, and then 0.98 in overtime in the front office. She worked some hours in the customer service job, and then she also worked some hours in the shop floor job as well. We can also kind of reverse this report if you needed the hours by job to see all of the employees who worked in the front office and their total hours, all the employees that worked in the customer service and their hours. And then, of course, we can have detailed reports that show the same information, but listed out per day instead of just grouping the hours together. With our report, you always start with some kind of template. So even if you're not quite sure which one to run, you can always get a description of each of the reports in here, and then, of course, customize it to what you need to be. The big parts of the reports that I find very useful, not only are the time and attendance ones, but there's also ones that detail with accrual information, just to get a nice, clean summary of how many hours all of my employees have at one time, or even something when it comes to scheduling, or especially that labor costing. With my employees transferring in and out of jobs all the time, I need to be able to quickly grab that information without having to go one by one, total things on my own, or create my own Excel spreadsheet. You can also share reports between users as well. So there is a public report section in here. So there's a rate test, and then there's a timesheet detail report that I created and I shared out to the rest of the users in this database. So that way, Kent gets into the system, he needs to run the same report for his employees. He can just click on that report, preview it, and it's going to look exactly like the one I run, just for his employee list. So we have the NT7000 time clock. It comes in the biometric reader like you're seeing in front of you right now, or just a simple prox clock if you don't want the biometric part. This is what a typical interface would look like. So it's a touchscreen capability. You can use PoE or Wi-Fi if that works better for your environment. From the time clock, they can punch. They can do any kind of group transferring. They can request time off. They can view accrual information so they can see their current balances. They can even view their timesheet and submit their timesheet directly from the time clock as well. And then I just put some pictures on here really quick on just, how an employee would actually use the time clock. So they just tap what they're looking for on the screen. They enter in their credentials and place their finger if you're using a biometric clock, and then it'll say good morning or good afternoon or good evening. And then when it comes to something like requesting time off, the process for that is very simple. Same thing, you touch the item on the screen of the clock, enter your credentials, fill out a form like you do on the website, and then click submit.
Okay.
Yes. So if you wanted to use a proximity card or an HID card instead of having the employee enter in the numbers on the keypad, they could just swipe the card right in front of the clock. If you're not using biometrics, then it's just simply swiping in front of the clock and walking away. I'm just going to jump to the mobile app really quick to show you that capability. The mobile app we can do geofencing, and then we can also require the GPS location on all of their punches as well. So the screens that I have up right now is just a typical login screen to the mobile app. This is on an Android, but it's very similar on an iPhone. So we give employees options, kind of like with their employee web services. So it can be different. If you're seeing some buttons on here you don't like, we can just take those off. When they are punching from their mobile app, it can grab their GPS location. And then when you're looking at the timesheet, there's an audit button on there where you can actually pull up a Google Map location of where they're punching from. And then with the geofencing option, if the employee is located outside of their geofence, it does give them an error when they're trying to punch in or out. Now, it will still let them request time off, view their timesheet, or view their accrual information. They just won't be able to transfer or do any kind of actual punching on the app. And then if you are having them transfer jobs, they can do that directly from the mobile app as well. Just a couple clicks on the screen here. If they're using like iPads or any kind of other smart devices, here's what timesheet would look like. They can submit their timesheet as well, just by using the submit button and see some details. Requesting time off is very similar to what the time clock looked like and also what that employee dashboard looked like. So just clicking on the button, entering in the required information, clicking submit. They can view their status, so they can already see what days have been approved or declined or pending. They can view their accrual information. They can also see the history now from the mobile app as well, just like we saw from the employee web services. There is an option also on the manager side of the app that lets them do the same thing they can do on the web. They can view timesheets, fix missing punches, add time to the timesheet directly, approve time off requests, approve timesheets themselves. And then there is a function here called Team Punch. So if you have one supervisor maybe on the site with a bunch of employees, instead of the employees actually like punching themselves in and out, the supervisor can go and build the team on the app and then punch the team in or out or do transfers during the day as well. In this screen here, the supervisor is picking the team B, which exists of Joey, Charlie, Rebecca, and Ellie, and can punch all four of them in at the same time. And then this is just showing how you create the team in there. So even if they have a list of 25 employees, they may have to create different teams depending on where they are. This is just an image of what you can see from the timesheet part of the app, and then you can click on each employee's name to actually see the day-to-day punches and the total hours. This is what it looks like when you have pending time off. Clicking on it will then just lead you to the next screen, which will allow you to approve or decline that request. So there are three basic scheduling pages in here depending on what you're trying to do. So of course we can always assign employees to a shift. So like I work 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. We can program that in so it always just populates my schedule out. As my punches differ from that, I can see tardies, early in, or late out kind of thing. And then if you ever need to actually like build a schedule based off of needs that maybe is a little bit more fluid, it's not the same from week to week, the template page here works wonders with that because, let me flip it to the employee side, because that way I can see how many employees I have scheduled on and then their exact scheduled time. I build all these custom templates you can see here on the top, like 7 to 3, 8 to 4:30, 8 to 5, and then I can actually assign these to an employee. So I have some employees who already have schedules in here, but Scarlett doesn't. She's completely clean for this week. So to build her schedule, I just click on the template I need, add it to the days that have that schedule. So Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, she works 8 to 4:30. And then let's say Tuesday and Thursday, she's working 9 to 6. Click on the other one, click on the days, and add it to the schedule. Now, of course, if you're working with multiple employees that you need to build the schedules for, you can click in any of the cells there and just keep copying that one template to the different employees. Now, the other benefit of this screen too is when you have temporary changes to schedule. Willow may be working or supposed to work from 7 to 3:30 on Friday, but this Friday I'm actually going to have her work, from 5 to 3:30 instead. I can come into her schedule on Friday, update just this one Friday's work schedule to 5 to 3, and then as Scarlett's punching in at 4:55, it can show that she's early by 5 minutes, and as she punches out at 3:15, it can show that she's late out by 15 minutes. And then each supervisor can customize this page to that. So you may have first shift supervisors that have different work hours than the third shift supervisor. They get to create their own schedule templates and then assign it to their own list of employees. And then there is just another scheduling page in here too, the free form. It's a little bit more basic than the template. If you do have a lot of employees that are on those designated shifts, so they work the same schedule every day, the supervisors may find the free form page just a little bit more useful, because then it clears out the days a little bit more, shows you 1 week at a time, and then I can update the schedule for one employee at a time. So on the left here, I'm selected on Marcus, so this is his schedule for the week. And then as I come over here, I can make adjustments and say, you know, tomorrow Marcus is actually going to work until 6. Once I save it, then once the employee starts getting all those exceptions based off that new schedule. And that just allows you to run those like schedule versus actual reports to make sure people are working within their hours. The last big thing that I wanted to point out then is the different types of notifications that can get set in the system. So let me just go to that page here really quick. So with the notification engine we have in NovaTime, it does allow us to send different notifications to employees and to supervisors when certain things happen in the system. Like in this case, you can have it if employees work over a certain number of hours per day, as employees are reaching overtime, if employees are having certain exceptions on their timesheets, and even if employees have like a no-call, no-show type of thing. So in this case, we can build parameters like if the employee doesn't show up within 15 minutes of their scheduled start time, it can notify the supervisor or notify the employee as well, send out email notifications or possibly text messages to those people to let them know that people are not showing up. So that might be something like if you do have a receptionist who's responsible for keeping track of that, if someone doesn't show up at all, we could have the system send a message to her that says, you know, Bill's not here today, or something like that. I'm just going to bring open the box here. So with the notification engine, there's a lot of capabilities to making sure that everybody is in the know of what's happening in the system. I'm just going to bring it to the timesheet exception ones, just going to show how vast this is, so that what happens then is like every morning you could have a notification sent out to all of the supervisors that will list the employees that have missing punches for the previous day. Of course, the supervisors can see this from their dashboards, but that way they get the email notification as well as a reminder to go into the system and manage those timesheets. Now, I really didn't show too much on the timesheets, but I'm just going to go back there. The timesheets, we have the capability of manually adding time to the timesheet, you know, fixing missing punches directly on the timesheet by filling in the time. I'm just going to go to Marcus here. And then we did see that you can see like a daily view as well. So if you wanted to see all of your employees and their hours for that one day, you can mark it as well. If I wanted to fix Marcus's punch here, I can just click in the spot, put in the time, save the page.
Thank you everyone for your time today. Crystal, great job. If you would like more information about PeopleSense's time and attendance solution, please give us a call at 815-893-6618. Again, for information or to request a demonstration, please call PeopleSense at 815-893-6618 or visit our website, peoplesense.net/contact. That's peoplesense.net/contact. Thank you again.